in August the 3rd, 2026. And today, of course, we're going to be talking about dignity. Now, dignity is an incredible quality. Knowing that nothing is going to pull you away from a certain mindset. Now, there is a dignity in saving a little at a time. Now, this particular video is not necessarily about, saving money for retirement or for some special day, even though it is a little along that lines. You see, there's a little dignity in knowing that every single day you and I are progressing forward in life. Life is not all about building life in great big leaps. Life is, of course, there are times where things just happen very quickly and very, quickly. But the problem is that's not how most life is. For example, some of us have heard of Dave Ramsey. Now, Dave Ramsey tells us that it's the little savings over every single day that over time, of course, get you ahead. For example, let's say you put $5 a day every single day, put it into savings. Before the end of the month, you have $150. Before the end of the year, you've saved somewhere between $1,800 and $1,900 that you didn't have. If you compound just that saving over several years, 20 years, all of a sudden you've got thousands of dollars set aside. You know what $5 is? $5 is a cup of coffee, or, let's say a donut, or, a coffee and a donut at Tim Hortons. $5. And yet by the end of the year, you've got over $1,800 in the bank, $1,800 that you didn't have. That's just a little example of course, doing some savings. Now, and as I said, we need to walk in life with careful steps. It's, if you want to take a 1,000-mile journey on walking, it starts with the first step. So there's nothing wrong with slow progress. I know we live in a modern society where everything comes quickly. I had a perfect example of that today. I was doing some videos on another platform, and the platform, the camera part of the platform wasn't coming on as fast as I wanted to do. And I said, "Come on, you." And I thought to myself, what a perfect example of what I'm talking about. You go into a restaurant, and the first thing you say, "Okay, what's your Wi-Fi password?" And when you have the Wi-Fi password and it doesn't connect as quickly as you would want it to connect, you and we fly off the handle, or we go, "Ugh, what's wrong with this technology?" You can have a meal in a very short period of time. When I was growing up, my mom, she didn't have a microwave. She just had your basic stove. And so my mom would take time to prepare a meal. And I remember as a kid coming in and saying, "Mom, when is supper?" And she would say, "It's going to be in such and such a time," based upon how long it would take for her to cook a meal on the stove. Well, it was absolutely fantastic that sometime, as I was a teenager, the microwave came into being. And then all of a sudden, my mom, she could cook a meal in no time at all. And when we were growing up, I had family. There were times where my wife was working, and so my kids were fed by me using the microwave. And I got very good at microwave cooking. And my son would come in and say, "What's for dinner, Dad?" And I would say, "Okay, we're going to be eating in such and such a time." Well, there's a vast difference between a meal that is cooked in a microwave and a meal that is cooked on the stove. Every morning, for example, I make myself an excellent breakfast. I go into the kitchen and put the baked potato. I use the microwave for one thing, and that's the baked potato. So I put the baked potato in, or the put potato into the microwave. And as the microwave is going boop, 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 doing its thing, I'll take out the pan and make my eggs and, you know, put the toast on and do the different garnishes that I want for my breakfast. And I have a great, big, huge breakfast every single morning. And it's wholesome and it's good food. But it takes me about 15 minutes in total to make my breakfast. But then when I sit down and have my breakfast, I realize that some things are worth waiting for. And that's what we need to recognize. Not everything in life has to be quick and easy. In fact, the best things in life are things that take time. For example, when I was young, my friend and I, whose name was Roger, we heard about a hike in the Rocky Mountains. At the time, there was a beautiful lake called Goat Lake, and it's in Waterton National Park. And Waterton National Park is, of course, right on the border of Canada and the United States. United States on the one side has Glacier National Park, and on the other side is Waterton Lake National Park. And up in those beautiful Rocky Mountains is this lake called Goat Lake. And we heard about it, but they told us it was going to be quite the hike. It was about 5 miles straight up in the on a path. So my friend and I, we got ourselves our water and we put on our hiking shoes and up the mountain we went. Well, there were many times on the path where it was a little on the scary side. But finally, after about 3.5 hours, we were able to get up to the top of the area. And Goat Lake is completely surrounded on three sides by this beautiful, scenic Rocky Mountain landscape. And we went out there and we sat there and we enjoyed the beautiful view. We took pictures and we headed back down. And there's this beautiful waterfall that goes down the side of the mountain. And we had to cross that. And it was just a spectacular, beautiful view, and also as well hike. We went down the hill and we both felt refreshed and we both felt like we had really accomplished something. It wasn't an easy hike, but the reward at the end of it was absolutely spectacular. We sat there for over an hour and just enjoyed a beautiful Rocky Mountain vista view in the middle of summer. It was fantastic. We went down and we got into the automobile, went over to Waterton Lake and sat on the side of the beautiful Waterton Lake and had a beautiful dinner together, my friend and I, and reflected on the day. And we understood that life sometimes can be difficult, but the journey up to wherever it is that we are doing can be just as wonderful and just as exciting as the view of where we are. Now, I want to remind you that not everything in life is easy. We have to do it in careful steps. But remember, a little here, a little there can be so powerful in our lives. And when it comes to finances, sometimes doing careful steps is wonderful. A little money kept aside, a little debt clear, a little fear reduced, slow progress. But I want to tell you something, slow progress is still progress. You may feel some days that you're not zooming along in life as you would like to do. But I want to remind you, traveling 80 kilometers an hour is going to get you there. Maybe not as fast as traveling 120, but you're still going to get there eventually. Let me share a little story with you. One time I was driving down the road in my vehicle, and all of a sudden, the tire on one side went out. So I went into the back of the vehicle, and there's this, what we call it, a donut. It's basically a spare tire, and it's smaller than a regular tire. And the problem with that donut, or that spare tire, is that you can only travel 80 kilometers an hour. Now, I wanted to get home more quickly, but I couldn't because I could only travel 80 kilometers an hour. But you know what happened that day? By traveling 80 kilometers an hour, I actually saved a whole bunch of gas. And it also allowed me to see the landscape of where I was traveling a little bit better than traveling at 120 or 115 kilometers an hour. I discovered that day that even though it took me 15 minutes, it only took me 15 minutes longer to get to my destination than if I would have traveled at my normal speed. Interesting enough, sometimes we're traveling at breakneck speed and we're trying to get someplace and not understand that there's also a beauty and a certain, serenity about traveling just a little bit slower. Remember, slow progress is still progress. A life can become stable, one decision at a time. Now, we're in a brand new day here where I live right now. And the time is early in the morning. It's 6:15 in the morning. And I know that I have a whole day ahead of us. Now, my granddaughter happens to be with us right now. And we have a day planned with her because she only comes to visit us once a year. And so we try to make her time with us as wonderful and also as eventful as possible. So we have certain things planned today, and we're going to enjoy every single moment that we have with her because this is her last year in school. She's going to go into grade 12. And at the end of this month, she's going to be turning 17. Sweet 16 is what she is right now. And she's a wonderful, wonderful girl. And we have really enjoyed having her with us. And last week, of course, we had our son and our youngest granddaughter with him. Yesterday, we had a real fantastic day with my 5-year-old grandson, whose name is Lewis. Right after church and after our potluck dinner, my son walks up to me and says, "Do you mind if Lewis comes and spends the afternoon with you?" I said, "Of course, no problem at all." So we had all yesterday, we had Melissa and we had Lewis. We had this wonderful teenage granddaughter who was keeping an eye on Lewis and also as well, keeping him entertained. But the highlight of yesterday was when I came out and there was Lewis. He was taking a bunch of sparklies and he was creating this wonderful little mountain of sparklies and using, of course, the glue to create it. And he was using a popsicle stick. And he said, "Look, Papa, look what I'm making." I said, "That is absolutely fabulous." It kept him actually busy for about a solid hour. He was really, really enjoying himself creating this wonderful mountain range. And I said, "What is it?" He says, "Well, I thought I would create my own mountain range." He says, "Look, here's some blue, here's some purple, here's some green." He says, "Isn't it quite the thing?" I said, "It certainly is." You see, every day you and I make decisions. Every day we make choices. And sometimes the choices that we make are, you know, life goes really fast. And then other choices is choices of stability, gratitude, and dignity. So, what is dignity? Well, dignity is basically understanding that life is a progression, that life is all about one decision at a time, and being, of course, at peace with the decision that you make. Now, some decisions are kind of blind faith. You don't know exactly what you're going to do or how it's going to happen, but you step out in blind faith. You see, last week, my daughter, who lives in the same community, she was having some problems with her basement. Now, of course, where we live, because of the incredible amount of rain that we've had, it has caused a lot of flooding problems. And my daughter, of course, was caught in that same situation. And so we had recommended to us a couple of contractors, a fella named Peter and his son, who is named with Anthony. We had gone to our local hardware store and talked to the manager and said, "Do you know anybody who can, repair foundations?" He said, "Well, these two men are pretty good at this." So when Peter had come in, he says, "This is what we're going to do." Now, I didn't know anything about him, but I took the recommendation. And by faith, I allowed him to dig in my daughter's backyard, and we had great big holes in the backyard down 8 or 9 feet. But then, when Peter was all finished and he, regraded the yard, I looked and I realized that my faith had been honored, that by listening to well known contractors and people in the know in the area, these two men were, of course, going to do a good job. Last night we had a rainstorm, and my daughter did not have to worry about water getting into her basement. Two reasons. Number one, because her basement was fixed. And number two, I had fixed her rain spouts. And so it was progress. At the beginning of the month of July, it wasn't that situation. She had water in her basement, but now her basement is fixed or is in the process of getting fixed. And so it was a little progress at a time. And that's often how life is, one decision, one step at a time. And so today, if you feel like life is getting a little slow, if you feel like life is not progressing as fast as you'd like it to be, remember, if you save $5 a day, by the end of the year, you've saved over $1,800. That was $1,800 that you didn't have. That's what financial planners tell you. They say it is money over the years that will be able to help you. It's called saving for a rainy day. Right now, for example, it's summertime where I live. And it's interesting that we have a squirrel that lives in the trees. We have some big evergreens behind our house. And that little squirrel is busy right now picking up all the different pine cones. And the reason he's doing is he knows that, of course, winter is coming. And when you know that there are seasons of abundance, seasons of where everything seems to be going on very good, you enjoy them. But you also know that the winter is coming. I mean, whether I like it or not, we're right now in the middle of summer vacation, and I am enjoying every single day. But I know that very soon school's going to start. And that means that I have to go back to work driving school bus. And, I know that by the end of the month, I'm going to have to do all the different things to get ready for, of course, driving school bus. And I also know that, it's August right now, but where I live, of course, by November or December, unfortunately, the winter season is coming. And so we, of course, here plan to, of course, get ready for the season. My wife and I, for example, we go over to our daughters right now and we are picking the raspberries. Yesterday, we had a raspberry cake. It was absolutely delicious. But we will set aside all the raspberries, we'll put them in special bags, and in that way, we'll be able to enjoy raspberries over the winter season. There's a lot of people right now, for example, my son, he's a farmer. And right now, he's seeing his crops begin to ripen. And within a few weeks, they're going to start harvesting. They're either their canola or their wheat or their peas or whatever it is that they put in the ground back in May. The growing season is not that long, and they know that they're going to harvest because harvesting gives them money for the rest of the season and for next year. It's a simple decision of life. You know that life goes in seasons. There's the spring season where everything is beautiful, winter has ended, and you are enjoying the warm weather. There's the summer season where you relax, you go on holidays, you go visit friends and family. And then there's the fall season. In the fall season, there is the beautiful colors of the trees. I love the fall season. It's not that long, usually only a few weeks, but the colors where I live are absolutely spectacular. And then winter comes. The snow begins to blow. The wind, is colder. And yet there's still a beauty in the whiteness of winter. And so each season has its own beauty and its own challenges. Either way, understand this: life becomes stable one decision at a time. That's my encouragement for you today. My name is Robert Dean Steele. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. And again, if you happen to like what you're seeing and hearing, press the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I want to thank all the people who do, of course, subscribe. And I want to thank all the people who check out my videos. I did a series of short YouTube videos today, and I'd like you to check those out. They're all under 1 minute long, but they have a particular theme, a particular idea that I'd like you to investigate and check out. They're all designed to encourage you, and they're designed to give you a thought to enlighten your day. So my name is Robert Dean Steele. Thank you for joining me today. Have yourself a great and godly day.